The next question we are going to revise will be comment on the changing attitudes of writers in their texts. The question here is on attitudes and how the attitudes change depending on the actions that they have explained in their texts. So we can note that the attitudes can be positive or negative. In Across the Mongolo, positively, the author's attitude towards Ndi Nkemasa and Menyinka, towards their son, is that of admiration for the love that the couple have for their son. Ndi Nkemasa wants Ngwe to be educated rather than to live a village life, a life of ignorance. He wants him to become as powerful as Baba Joro, the proprietor of Kamangola. Even when he falls and hits his chest on the stone, he stays alive because he wants to keep his son's dream of education alive. He sends him to school, and teacher Abento beats the boy mercilessly, and Nkemasa does not sleep the whole night, waiting to go to the school very early in the morning, and he raises up the teacher in his shoulder with the intention to throw him into the Bechamfem River. And then he warns the teacher never to beat his son in that manner again. As for Menyinka, her love for Ngwe is undiluted. She allows the boy to be by her side all the time. She tells him wonderful stories. She gives him good things of life and allows him to lick the bottom of the pot whenever she cooks food. She does not want her husband to send the boy to school because she thinks that the boy is still too young. The boy will be beaten by teachers like slave children, and the boy will die of hunger. Consequently, she makes food, ties it in a plantain leaf, and puts it in the boy's pocket. She also does not agree with her husband when her husband wants the boy to go to Miemfi. Nevertheless, she has no option because her husband has already taken the decision. The author's attitude is also that of admiration towards teacher Marewe's show of gratitude to Menyinka and Ngwe. It should be noted that teacher Marewe is Ndi Nkemasa's sister's son, who had died, leaving the boy at a tender age. Nevertheless, Menyinka had raised the boy to the man that he is presently as if he were her own son. And when the boy starts working as a teacher in Miemfi, every time he visits, he gives Menyinka money to buy fish. Menyinka holds the boy's legs, does some incantations, handing him over to the ancestors to bless him and protect him in the faraway land where he works. As a sign of gratitude for such love, motherly love from Menyinka, teacher Marewe takes over Ngwe's education, takes him to Miemfi where he graduates, sends him to Wisdom College, and he has great future plans for his education when he goes to the University of Besadi. Unfortunately, teacher Marewe dies the very year when Ngwe passes the advanced level. And so life at the university becomes very difficult for him because he doesn't have such an illustrious sponsor like teacher Marewe. The author's attitude towards Dr. Ambo's love for fellow Anglophone is also that of admiration. Dr. Ambo, while in Europe, had housed Wankili in his apartment. He is also one of those who believes that for Anglophones to fight against the discrimination that they face against the Francophones, Anglophones must be united in love. He befriends Ngwe, shows him his way around the campus and how to go about his studies. He takes Ngwe and his friend to attend Wankili's party. he also gets a scholarship, helps Ngolefek to get a scholarship to study medicine in the UK. Negatively, the author's attitude towards Shirela double dating is that of condemnation. Shirela dates Ngwe, but at the same time, she has a romantic relationship with Mr. Abeso. When Ngwe is informed that there is a man who is always seen with Shirela all the time, going to the supermarket, she tells Ngwe that the man is her uncle's colleague. But when pressure is put on her, she admits that she has an affair with Monsieur Abeso, but it is purely material, and it is Ngwe that she loves. Even when she and Ngwe make up things, and both go their separate ways during the holidays and promise to meet back, she takes advantage of Ngwe's temporary absence to accept Mr. Abeso back in her room. Ngwe had noticed that even before they go on holidays, there are moments where Shirela just disappears for 1 or 2 days and suddenly shows up. Ngwe meets them in a very compromising situation where Shirela is putting on a transparent nightgown, and there is a confrontation which leaves Mr. Abeso embarrassed, leaving him to leave the house with threats that Ngwe will understand that he is in Besade. The author's attitude also towards the gendarme, Quenti, Wankili, and the workers at the Scholarity is that of condemnation for their corrupt nature. The gendarme is very disrespectful as he slaps the old man and asks him to sit on the floor. In addition, the bus driver informs the passengers when they leave the bridge that he had handed 2,000 francs as bribe to the gendarme in order to get back his car documents. Ngwe Quenti is an Anglophone who works at the Ministry of Education, and he is in charge of awarding scholarship to meritorious students. Nevertheless, Anglophone students are not put on the list, very few of them. And worst of all, he prefers to collect bribes from Anglophone children in order for their names to be added on the scholarship list. Wankile is the worst of them all. He refuses his own brother and tells them in his speech that he is not an Anglophone during his reception, that his office will not be a place for Anglophone gossip. He also continues by saying that he is not there to solve the Anglophone problem, but he is there to serve the head of state. The workers at the Scholarité, where the children deposit their registration documents, take advantage of the least commotion to close their doors, and they are not seen till the next day. Ngwe later learns that children give them bribe, and their documents are treated at night. In Lake God, the playwright's attitude towards the chief priest is that of admiration for his dedication for his duty and the love for his job and community. Sheboyo comes to the palace regularly to remind the Fawn that Father Leo is the cause of most of the problems that are taking place in the community. Secondly, he also comes to remind the Fawn that there will be a catastrophe if he continues to neglect his royal duty, which includes performing or leading the people to perform the annual sacrifice to the lake god. The playwright's attitude towards women is also that of admiration for their hard work and determination to see that the community is saved. The women work very hard at Ngamba to produce crops which feed the community, and they also make some money for their families. The women are incorruptible, as the Fawn decides to corrupt them with money when they come to lay their plight about the destruction of their crops and their desire to see that the cattle rearers are sent out of the land. In order to put pressure on the fawn to perform the sacrifice, the women decide to involve their husbands by taking the oath of seal lips to deprive their husbands of food and sex, so that this might push their husbands into action to also put pressure on the fawn and do the right thing. Negatively, the playwright's attitude is that of condemnation towards Father Leo for corrupt malpractices and the manipulation of the fawn. Although a man, a religious leader, he is corrupt. He bribes kingmakers in order for them to enthrone von Joseph so that he can use him and achieve his aims of spreading Christianity on the land. He also gives the fawn money to buy cattle and make him feel contented so that he can manipulate him and rule and take the major decisions of the land which he will impose on the fawn. He uses the church to criticize the women for taking out the oath of seal lips, which he refers to as rebellion, and whose consequence is hell fire. The playwright's attitude is also that of condemnation for the fawn's incompetence. The fawn does not care about the religion of the people. He hides behind the notion which he claims, or he has been brainwashed and made to believe that he is a Christian monarch, and he refuses to do the things that the tradition demands of him, such as leading the people in sacrifice to the lake god. Angela tells her husband that he must sometimes listen to his subject for there to be peace, and even advises him to take a second wife so that he can give them an heir and for peace to reign in the community. It should also be noted that he lacks the sense of duty and he is full of greed. When the women come and complain about the destruction of the crops, he does not bother about the consequences of famine, of a possible famine in the community if the crops are destroyed or continue to be destroyed. He is only interested in what he gains, because most of the cattle that the cattle rearers rear in the village belong to the fawn. In Madame Bovary, the author's attitude towards Madame Bovary is that of admiration for her love towards Charles. She does everything in her power to enroll him in a medical school despite knowing that he lacks the intellectual capabilities. Charles' love towards Emma is also admirable, as he restores her every time she's emotionally shattered to good health. He also forgives her of her infidelity towards him. The author's attitude is also that of condemnation towards Emma's infidelity. Although Emma is married, Emma entertains other extramarital relationships with other men like Leon and Rodolphe. He also criticizes or condemns her hypocrisy as she continues to behave like a faithful housewife, whereas she is unfaithful to her husband. He also condemns Mrs. Bovary's materialistic nature as he contracts a marriage between Heloise and Charles based purely on money. In A Walk in the Night, the author's attitude is that of admiration for Lorenzo's wife, who refuses to abort her baby despite their impoverished state because of her love for human life. Despite having orders from her husband, she stands her ground that she will not perform an abortion. It is also that of condemnation for the racist South African regime that has no respect for human life, kills and tortures blacks the way they want. The inhumane nature of Constable Ralph, who shoots Willie Boy and allows him to bleed to death in the police van. The criminality among young boys who have turned to criminality because of lack of employment, and that of the prostitution of the young girls who sell their bodies in order to make money for themselves. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.